This is the podcast series about usage economy. But before we start, would you like to give us a little bit of introduction about yourself, what you do, and your background?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Ali. Spent 20 years in the enterprise information management field, helping deal with all of the information that flows within large enterprises throughout the world and how to effectively manage that before moving to XaaS about 5 or 6 years ago to help take on the challenges associated with monetizing usage-based go-to-market models and helping organizations to drive new economic capability through some of these innovative and emerging models that they may be able to implement with their products and services. Mm-hmm. So very excited to be here today to talk about monetization and to talk about usage-based billing and some other things, and hoping we can explore the topic a little bit more.
That sounds great. So I'm pretty sure the viewers out there are interested in knowing more about the usage economy. So would you mind telling us a little bit about the usage economy and why it is so important?
What is the usage economy? I think we're all familiar with the subscription economy, which was all the rage about 10 or 15 years ago. As companies were starting to shift from one-time transaction models where I can sell you a good or a service one time, we exchange currency, we walk away from each other, and that's the end of the relationship. A decade and a half ago, large businesses started to switch to a recurring revenue model, and really that reignited, I think more appropriately, the notion of subscription-based go-to-market models. And we're really familiar with these in our everyday lives as consumers. We subscribe to streaming services, to other forms of media. You can subscribe to a car share service model. You can subscribe to just about anything. And in fact, a lot of us, because of that, are starting to become fatigued by all of these subscriptions that we have accumulated over the years. And we're starting to, I think in some cases, I know for me personally, wonder if we're getting value for the money that we're spending on these opaque, flat, subscription-based products and services that are so accessible to us now. And at XaaS, we believe that we've got the next incarnation of the economic model that is going to impact consumers, it's going to impact businesses, it's going to impact all of us, and really is the next thing for business to become excited about, which is usage-based go-to-market models and usage-based economics. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk a lot about this in this podcast and in this series of podcasts, but usage-based go-to-market models come with a number of benefits and a number of tools that help organizations to strengthen their relationships with their customers, to offer empowerment, to offer transparency, to offer optionality, to empower customers to self-service and self-select, but also enable organizations to design monetization strategies to ensure that they're not leaving dollars on the table in the way that they go to market and compete against their colleagues out in the wilds of the economy. So we've got a real point of view about usage-based economics at XaaS, and I'm hoping that through this podcast and through the series we can share with our listeners more about how those types of models can benefit their businesses and can benefit us individually as consumers in our personal lives.
Absolutely. That leads me to the next question. Would you mind explaining the various usage-based models and how they meet business needs?
Well, there are a number of different models that you can design incorporating usage-based economics. So I won't be able to give an exhaustive list today, but I can provide some examples for our viewers. In the most basic incarnation, usage-based models can be something like a basic subscription plus some usage-based element on top of it. So you're committing to a vendor or you're committing in your commercial relationship to a minimum amount of consumption. And this allows businesses and consumers to plan for what their budget may be, to plan for what they think they're going to be using, but to have the safety and certainty that there is additional usage available to them should they enter a boom time, should the business grow a little bit faster than anticipated, should they have great consumer uptake of a new product launch, and really helps businesses to enable customers to become comfortable with that basic subscription, but helps to answer the question about value by ensuring that you are giving value for the dollar and you are ensuring that customers can go beyond what they've committed to if necessary at a fair rate by incorporating usage with a subscription. Mm-hmm. That model then starts to move more and more progressively to a full usage-based model where there is no minimum commitment. and understand that these types of go-to-market models can have some subtlety or some complexity to them as well. You might be selling a wearable device that has a connected digital service and also allows you to do one-time downloads of digital content. In an example like that, you may have a one-time transaction for the physical good, the wearable device. You may have an ongoing transaction for the subscribed digital service that empowers that device, and maybe that includes a data allotment as well, and there might be usage if you go over your data allotment. And it might even include other things like digital assets for the watch, where you may want to download new notification sounds. You may want to download video assets or digital media that you may want to view or consume on it. You may want to download new apps for the watch that perform different functions for you. So there's a spectrum between the one-time transaction. Imagine a speedometer with, at 0 miles an hour, you've got the one-time transaction. I'll sell you a pencil one time, we'll exchange fees, and we'll be done our commercial relationship. In the middle, you've got something like a basic subscription plus a usage-based element. And then at 100 miles an hour, all the way to the right, you've got pure usage-based models where customers, where businesses, because these models work both in B2B and B2C scenarios, are charged only for what they use. And there's a variety of benefits as to why companies may want to do that. There are some risks in companies doing that as well. And those may be some topics that we want to explore further as we talk more.
Okay, that sounds interesting, Adam. My next question for you is if you could explain why the ability to generate and use user data is becoming crucial for businesses.
Usage data is, amongst other things, the keys to the kingdom to empower large language model AI, to understand truly what is happening in your customer and product interactions, to understand truly what is happening in the flow of revenue through your business and through your product channels. And that, for any business, is the vital lifeblood, right? We're all here to conduct commerce. We're all here to earn a living. We're all here to generate profit and to create livelihoods. And in order to do that, you have to ensure that your business is healthy. You have to ensure that you're competitive in the market and that you're offering something unique to your competition. And some of these usage-based economic models can really help to turbocharge your go-to-market and help to differentiate against your competition. Because increasingly, and especially in 2024, I think we've all been through 4 or 5 years of pretty extraordinary global events so far, and pretty extraordinary economic events. And our dollar spends for less than it did 3 or 4 years ago, materially less. So businesses, consumers, and even in B2B scenarios, we're all being challenged to ensure that we're getting value for our money. And increasingly, as I said, especially in 2024 and beyond, the way that you go to market commercially is part of your product. It is part of your differentiation. And if you're a consumer and you have 2 different options, and one of them appears starkly in your mind to represent better value for money, it's almost a slam dunk. Increasingly, that almost starts to override the specific features and capabilities of the product itself, whether or not it's a physical product, a digital service, a piece of software, connectivity, telecommunications service. It really doesn't matter what industry you're in. This notion that we have to be able to do more with less. We have to ensure that we get value for money. We have to ensure that we can commit and meet those commitments increasingly in B2B scenarios, I think is very important. And usage-based economics and a usage-based go-to-market can really help companies to differentiate in the way that they measure up to their competition and the way that their products and the way that their customer experience stands out. I'll tell you, having done usage-based billing for over a decade now, Ali, you can have a very happy customer and you can never hear from them for 10 years. But if you get the bill wrong once and you overcharge a customer, if you get it wrong, you can lose trust very quickly. So for me, and though I'm biased, the commercialization and monetization of your products and services is really where the rubber hits the road. And increasingly, as I'd mentioned, it is part of the product experience itself and a vital one to get right.
So what can, that's a good point, what can businesses do in order to improve the customer experience and the billing experience? I, as a business owner, I don't want to do a wrong bill. I don't want to send out a wrong bill or a bill that has a error in it. What can I do, or how can I minimize errors in my billing invoices?
Well, it's not just about minimizing errors, and implementing a usage-based billing system can certainly help to do that, because we integrate with all of the systems, all of the APIs, all of the various points throughout your business that collect and marshal usage telemetry throughout the business. You might not even be aware that you're sending services out the door that you're not monetizing today. We call that revenue leakage. And until you have a system in place that can act as the proverbial quarterback to understand how many services are being consumed and by whom, at what time, in which location, you don't know what's going out the door or not. And additionally, I had mentioned just off the cuff that this is the vital lifeblood. This is the gold rush of data that powers the promise of AI. I want to expand on that a little bit too, because indeed there it is also all about the data. If you or I went to ChatGPT today and we were to ask ChatGPT, what are the 3 top decisions that we can make to have LogicSense stand out as a business? Or to ask ChatGPT a simple question like, who are my top 5 customers by service, by revenue, by usage, by country, by currency for the last 3 years by quarter? ChatGPT couldn't answer that question, nor could any of the other publicly available large language models, because they haven't been trained on the data that is specific to your business, to your customers, to your products. To empower the promise of AI to automate a broad category of today human-based tasks, a large language model must know the specific data relevant to your business, its products, its customers, and its finances. And a usage-based billing system like LogicSense sits right at the center of all of that within your IT environment. And we ingest the usage events throughout your business. We know when your products are being used. We know who's using them. Who is that customer? We know how and when they pay and what they pay for it. We understand where these types of services are used and in which combination, because we have to have that data in order to be able to conduct the economic activity of delivering you an accurate bill based on the way that you use the product. If I start to furnish that information that exists within a usage-based billing system to a large language model in perhaps a method of prompt engineering to provide supplementary data along with my query, the data necessary to answer the question, all of a sudden a large language model can start to tell me who my top customers are, who's growing the most quickly, which product do they purchase after they purchase product A, B, and C. Can I create a bundle? So there's a variety of reasons why the information that exists at the center of usage-based monetization is vital, not the least of which is your finances, your accuracy in billing your customers, your capacity to shut down and stop revenue leakage, your capacity to be compliant and conduct taxation on that revenue accurately in real time, to do revenue recognition accordingly. But also, it is the treasure trove necessary to empower the promise of artificial intelligence and the large language models that we see in market today via fine-tuning or prompt engineering, but marshaling this usage-based treasure trove of data which knows all about your customers. It knows all about your products. It knows when they were used, when they were sold, how they were sold, what followed after, and can really start to empower these AI models to automate tasks and answer questions accurately with accurate mathematics based on accurate data for your specific business. So that is one of the elements that I think is really revolutionary about the data that exists to empower these types of usage-based go-to-market models.
Thank you. This sounds pretty unique and interesting, and at the same time, pretty technical. So what I really want to know is how LogicSense is different from other vendors out there in leveraging all this data.
It's a good question. Well, LogicSense is different in a lot of ways, but specifically around the way that we leverage this data, LogicSense has a capacity for extensibility, being able to ingest these types of usage events and this data from around your organization. And it doesn't matter whether you're sending it to us as an API or as JSON data, if you want to send us a CSV file, if you want to dump data in an Amazon S3 bucket, if you can send it our way, we'll be able to collect it and ingest it. And LogicSense also has, without getting too technical, something called a mediation or data transformation platform that's built right into our core engine. And this allows customers to integrate data from any source in their business and through a graphical user interface to be able to reconstruct, to combine, to merge, to transform that data and send it to the appropriate destination. And doing this at scale can become complex because, one, you're going to be processing a huge amount of data. As you can imagine, a large organization can generate billions, tens of billions or more usage events on quite a regular basis. So being able to ingest data from any source in the organization, whether that's a piece of software that's making an API call, maybe that's a point of sale system, maybe that's an enterprise resource planning system, maybe it's coming from an old AS400 mainframe that's sitting in a broom closet somewhere running an airline ticketing system. We can ingest that information and we can enable our customers to transform it and send it to any destination within their environment. At the core of what LogicSense does, we use that information to conduct usage-based billing, to create pricing plans that may have great complexity, great creativity, to be able to introduce ramp-up periods and commitments for customers for certain usage minimums, to be able to introduce discounting based on the volume consumed, to be able to add additional discounts and bundles based on the products that the customer has purchased. And really, the sky is the limit in terms of your imagination as a product leader to be able to define what you believe will be a competitively winning commercial model to take your product out and differentiate. So that transformation engine, which sits at the heart of what we does, is what enables us to marshal information not only to our system to implement those innovative go-to-market models, but it also enables us to marshal that information over to other systems, such as a large language model AI, or along with a prompt to that same AI model to supplement the query. So when I ask the AI, who were my top 10 customers by quarter, by revenue, by country last year, along with that can come the information which is actually necessary to answer that question accurately in the context of your specific business. And which systems might contain that information to make that accurate answer? Very few, but one of them is going to be your usage-based billing system. So those are a couple of ways in which the LogicSense platform empowers developers and empowers product leaders to be able to collect information from any source within the business. And our powerful mediation and transformation engine enables business leaders to then combine that data and to use it for commercialization, to stop revenue leakage, to create competitive pricing and go-to-market models, or for those who are truly innovative and who are testing some of the new capabilities out in market, to prompt engineer, to fine-tune, to supplement the queries that are going to large language AI models, to allow them to deliver on the promise that we hear constantly around AI, which is meaningful, accurate business automation. But that anybody who's gone to an AI that's been trained on the wilds of the internet only knows that those AI models can't answer those questions until you have empowered them with exactly this type of information. So that's where I think we see a lot of the power and a lot of the differentiation around managing that usage data in the context of the LogicSense platform.
Sounds very fascinating. I just want to ask another question now that you mentioned it. Complex data. Does it matter which segment you are in? Could I be a telco? Could I be IoT? Could I be a SaaS business? Does it matter which segment I'm in order for me to be working with LogicSense platform?
It doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
And we're all really familiar with this type of monetization when we think of cellular plans, mobile plans. That's probably the genesis of a lot of this type of go-to-market. Even back to, we think back when internet service providers would charge you for how many minutes you were connected for. How many kilobytes did you download? How many kilobytes did you upload? Maybe even using the term kilobyte instead of gigabyte now shows my age. But back then, bandwidth was at a real premium.
Yeah.
And we became really familiar with these type of usage-based monetization models. Fast forward to today, in 2024, and these models can be applied to travel and entertainment and hospitality, to streaming media services, certainly to software and to telecommunications. It can be applied to consumer electronics, to wearable devices to any type of product or service that you may want to monetize on an ongoing basis. And increasingly, particularly around technology, we see those types of products where there's a cost associated for the vendor to provide the service for an ongoing basis. There are servers running out in the cloud. They have to buy content and license information and data to use in their applications. And this type of monetization really lends itself well to those types of applications, but we shouldn't let that limit our imagination. I would contend, when we think of streaming services, I've got 6 or 7 subscriptions presently for my household. You've got the Disney Plus, you've got the Prime, I've got the Netflix, I've got the Hulu, I've got Apple TV, the list is getting really long. The first large media and streaming service provider who comes out and says, put $100 on account with me. You don't have to give me $30 a month, and you don't use my service. You watch it once a year for a month when we update our new shows and new catalog, and then you go away for 11 months. You cancel, you terminate your commercial relationship. Put $100 on account with us, and we'll deduct 50 cents each time you watch an hour of content across our catalog. And please remain a customer. Keep your commercial relationship open with us. Yep. Because it costs the streaming provider money to re-onboard a customer each time they change providers, because their consumers are subscription fatigued. So I would contend that the first media and streaming house that gets this right is going to start to knock down some of the other streaming competitors because consumers are tired of having to carry 8 subscriptions that they might not be getting use out of. In fact, there are applications out on the internet today that will help you to find subscriptions that you may be paying for that you don't even know you have. That's how bad the problem has become. So I think there's great opportunity to provide better value, better optionality for consumers in these types of models, and to ensure that they're getting value for money. And those businesses who make this shift first are going to put their competitors in a bind by having to catch up to what they're doing in terms of commercial innovation in their space.
So what you're saying is that those companies that can address subscription fatigue are those that are going to succeed in the future.
Well, I think especially if their market segment and the product that they're taking to market today is dominated by a subscription-based go-to-market model, those who innovate first to break their consumers free of that subscription fatigue are going to be real standouts, and they're going to attract market share.
Thank you, Adam, for this insightful information and conversation about usage economy. I definitely learned a lot. I'm pretty sure the viewers out there also got a better understanding into what the usage-based economy is. Would you mind telling the viewers what the next podcast will be all about and why they should tune in to the next podcast?
Oh, Ali, there's so much to unpack around the usage economy. And I think in our next session, it would be good to look at some of the social, economic, technological, and other factors that are driving urgency around this transformation. Because I deeply believe that it's not just a nice thing to do. I think it's an important thing for us to do in making this shift. So I can't wait to talk more about that in the next session.
Happy to hear. Viewers, this is the end of the podcast. Please visit logisense.com for more information about the usage economy and our billing platform.